Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Cyrus. I'm the creator of Tea, Milk, Two Sugars, the podcast that helps parents um, be more effective and better parents and happier parents. Um, Again, I've got the pleasure of presenting to you Paulette Hallam, the loved author of the best-selling trilogy, Jack and Walter. Good morning to you, Paulette.
Good morning.
I know Ben has come back from uni, graduated, right? Your husband's there, Ben's there, the family's complete under the same roof again.
Indeed, it's fabulous.
How's Ben feeling about coming back home?
Mixed.
Mixed.
I think get the graduation out of the way next 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
And then it will be like, what happens now? It's called a job. But then he's thrown a bit of a spanner in the works. Maybe I'll go to Japan and do my PhD. And I'm like, ugh.
Yep, they grow and they leave the nest.
Smiling. I know.
Yeah.
I was smiling on the outside. Yay, lovely idea. Not really.
You'll figure it out in the same way you guys as
We always
parents
do.
have,
Yeah.
always figured it out. And that's a massive lesson to all parents. I was talking to my mom about parenting the other day, and I said, Mom, people who don't have children yet, can they be parents? And her response was really interesting. She said, technically, they may not be parents yet, but if they are saving up for it, or if they are planning, if they are dreaming about it every day, like they're planning for it, everything they do is in that direction, they are already parents. They're already doing better than many parents. So a shout out to all the parents who are not parents yet, and also a massive shout out to parents who are already doing it, raising the children. And as I always say, you are doing a little bit better than you think you are. You're a parent. You're already parenting. You're already doing it. Don't criticize yourself. Just do what you do best. Just be a parent. So today we're talking about how can I help my child become a better storyteller? Do we have to raise storytellers? Yes, of course. Do we have to create employees for someone else? Of course not. If someone wants to work for other people, yeah, give them the chance. Why not? But it shouldn't be the number one priority. Number one priority of your child and yourself should be creating your own brand and being your own employer. But if you're working for someone else, you do you, right? You do you. We all do it. We all have done it. So sometimes it's inevitable. So out of the most Googled questions that people have been asking about, how can I help my child become a better storyteller? So first of all, before we start, Paulette, please explain to our audience and to our community, why is it important to to activate the storytelling and writing in your child?
So it really goes back to imagination. And it goes back to, if you don't encourage your child to use their imagination, if you don't encourage your child to read and to learn and to start to see sort of repeated bits in stories as they're reading them, then you'll find they'll be reproducing them with their toys. You'll hear almost the same story being retold to their teddies or to their cars or whatever. So the point is that you spark their imagination for them to then add to the existing story they've heard or the story that just inspired them. to continue adding to that story, almost writing the next chapter or the next book. Without that imagination, you are talking to almost like a piece of wood, because the piece of wood doesn't actually have, it's an inanimate object. It doesn't have feelings and thoughts and the ability to create. So imagination is all about sparking a small, tiny flame inside that child that says, oh, I think I'd like to do something about that. I'm going to write it down, or I'm going to tell it to my teddies, or I'm going to go and reenact it with my cars, or my action men, or whatever. But you have to give them the chance. Things don't just land in our lap. We are tools of learning. Remember that we are all just tools of learning. And without the learning, without the imagination, they are literally stuck. Over to you. Can't hear you.
Just unmuted myself. Thank you. So I always say to my friends and family, um, we are children first, then we are, then we go, then, so we are children first.
Cyrus, you're getting a bit of feedback.
All right. Is it better now?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. So I always say to my friends and family that we are all children first, then we go through adolescence, and we grow up, we become adults. In the process, we lose something called innocence, and alongside that, we lose the ability to imagine. Lots of adults' problems is a lack of imagination. And storytelling is not necessarily telling a story to other people. Storytelling sometimes can be the story you tell yourself. And um, so there are artists and there are people who feel like they're not artists, right? So I always say an artist is an inner child who survived becoming an adult, right? So that becoming an adult, from that transition from childhood to adulthood, in 99% of people kills off that artist. But that inner child can survive. So I hope inner child has survived adulthood. Okay, so an artist is an inner child who's survived adulthood. Okay, so keep that inner child alive, keep nurturing it, right? As your child is growing up, make it a acceptable standard for them, and you will see their magic. You will see them shine on all sorts of stages. Um, we're going to go to question number one. So we are talking about how can I help my child become a better storyteller, right? So number one, how can I help my child become a better writer at home? How would people do that, Paulette?
So the most important thing is reading together on a regular basis and encouraging your child to write their topics that they enjoy. So if you know that they particularly enjoy football, then write down football. If they enjoy watching Disney, write down Disney. So get the topics that they enjoy, and then praise their ideas and their effort. So, if you were to write a story about cars, what would your story be? And even if it's a direct replica of what they've just watched, praise them and praise them. Don't worry about the spelling, don't worry about the grammar, and don't worry about copyright, because at this age they're probably 6, 7, 8, and copyright doesn't really come into it. You're just encouraging them to be confident in their writing. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Paulette. I also wanted to add that if your child tells you, I don't know where to start from, um, uh, sorry, if your child tells you, I don't like writing, I don't know where to start from, you know what? Tell them where to start from. Give them a starting point, right? And always, always, always start from the surroundings, something that is familiar to them. That's the best point for them to start. So use everyday objects, use everyday events. Ask them to write down a memory of theirs, a joint memory that you are both fond of, right? A story of a holiday that you went on. And little by little, and by the way, let them make mistakes. One of the ways you can um, help them become storytellers at home is that making is you making the home a safe environment to make mistakes. Don't slam their mistakes. Um, Mistakes are data, okay? Don't turn off that stream of data. They will come to you, they will give you their story. They're not there for their perfection, right? Perfection is created by you. You can create that perfection. You shouldn't strive for perfection, right? You should strive for creating a storyteller. Storytellers are not supposed to be perfect. Storytellers are supposed to be storytellers. We're gonna go to we're gonna go to number two. Why does my child have lots of ideas but struggle to write them down? What stops them, Paulette?
So many children think a lot faster than they can write. So writing is really hard for kids. That's why they spend hours and hours with learning how to write the alphabet and stuff. Writing is really hard work. And sometimes even doing things like mini podcasts or letting them loose with a um, your phone so they can record their story might be a way of helping them to get their idea out and then help them write it down slowly afterwards because their thoughts are running at 100 miles an hour. And then this happened, and then that happened, and this happened. And I can't write down that quick, right? So it's about understanding that their thoughts and ideas can't be organized quickly enough to get them written down. And so using simple planning tools like a mind map or a spidergram or something like that that will help them turn ideas into writing eventually. So keep the ideas coming and worry about how we get it written down afterwards. Even if you tell them, dictate it to me and I'll write it. And then afterwards, you can copy it and write it down yourself. That is a great way of them being able to organize their ideas and their thoughts, and you're supporting them on their journey. You're not doing it for them, you're merely acting as the dictating tool to write it down. Back to you.
So for those of us who might not know what a spidergram is or how it works, can you please explain what
Absolutely.
a mind map or spidergram
Yeah,
is?
yeah. The mind map is sort of thing that you'd use even in business. When you have a problem and you need to work out what all the solutions are on the table so that you can make the decision which is the right one. So you will throw your ideas down on a piece of paper, organize them into the best solution, and then you come up with that. That's basically what a mind map is. It's a solution provider.
Are you talking about
A
brainstorming?
brainstorming is mind mapping.
Yeah.
What a spidergram is the junior version. So a spidergram is where if you imagine a spider's got their legs and all the legs have got prongs. So the first leg might be the where did the story happen? The second leg might be who's in the story. The third leg might be what were they doing there? The fourth part be what did they find? The fifth part might be what did they do with what they found? The sixth leg might be What did they decide to do after they found it? Who did they tell? And then you've got the conclusion and finishing up the story to make it so that it's complete. And that's how you will go around the legs. And I found that my son, who's autistic, when he was given a blank piece of paper and told to write a story, he sat there with a pen and a piece of paper for a whole lesson. And it wasn't until the teacher spotted everybody else writing and Ben just sat there staring blankly. And she said, "What's the matter?" He said, "I don't know where to start." And she said, "Do a spidergram." So she turned the page over, helped him do a spidergram, and then he was like a rocket. Psh, it was off. But it's that spark that's needed sometimes to help children, especially children like Ben, who didn't have that initial, I don't know how to start. I don't know where to begin. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Paulette. Um, if your child is struggling to put pen to paper or write the ideas down on the mobile phone, on the notes on the mobile phone, just inspire them. Give them an idea. It could be any idea, as long as they sit sit down, focus on it, and write a couple of paragraphs about it. That's the starting point. You're not creating a William Shakespeare on the spot. You are giving them the ability to potentially become the next William Shakespeare, right? So your point, your job is being a parent, okay? So you may not have all the right tools, but you can find those tools online. Remember, all of the solutions are out there. Just Google them, right? The next question that we'd like to cover is this one, number 3. What is the best way to teach story writing to a primary school child? That's an important question.
It really is. And it's very different to middle school and higher. So breaking the process into, I sound like I'm on repeat, but breaking the process into small steps is always the answer with any child 7 and under. Everything has to be small steps, baby steps. And so you plan, then you write, then you go over it again and make sure that it's what you want to do. Then you might go back and even fiddle with it and change it a bit. And then use the story prompts that you use on your spidergram to make sure that you covered all the things you wanted to say. There's nothing worse than getting off of a ship with a treasure map and then you go and find some shells and you talk about the shells and how great they were and how you could hear the sea. And then when you look back, you went, "Oh no, what about the treasure map?" The treasure map got forgotten because you started to talk about seashells. Now, seashells is a great story, but it's not the story that you started with. And that's okay. But it's understanding if you wanted to do a treasure map story, then you should have checked with your mind map. So it's all about these little tiny processes because minds jump, especially not, well, 4 to 7, they jump all over the place. It's like shiny thing, shiny thing, shiny thing. They're all over the place. And what we have to do is teach the child to try and stay focused. Focus is really hard for 4 to 7, but it's important. And by doing small steps, that really does help with focus.
So basically, your message to parents today, first and foremost, is to help them get organized. Help your
Yeah.
child get organized. And just to give you guys an example, if I tell you to go and find a car in a car park, you would ask me, what color is it? What make is it? Right? And what floor in this car park will I find the car in question? Right? So the best gift you can give your child is giving them where to start from. What is it that is expected from a writer or storyteller, right? What task is it? If the mind goes blank, it's because of the overwhelm. You're asking them to do something they haven't done before, right? Just remember yourself, first day of school, first day of your job. You weren't always this skilled at whatever you do, right? Just imagine, and by the way, if what you're teaching your child is something like a software, right? Or if it's something you're learning yourself, always remember, if you learn between 20 to 25 things about a new software or new app or new AI platform, if you learn 20 to 25 things about it, that's your starting point. You're already in. Okay, don't don't get overwhelmed. Okay, so that feeling of overwhelm can affect your child when they say they don't know where to start from, or what to do. That's basically the solution for that. The next one: how do I get my child to stop saying I don't know what to write? How would you handle that, Paulette? That's a really annoying one as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and one that I've had many times. Um, I would say it's quite simple, really. Um, when we used to drive down the street, we'd look out the windows just to keep you get bored with I Spy after a little while. So we would look for a red car, we'd look for a caravan, we would look for purple pipe, things on the road as we were driving along. And then we'd say, who's in the caravan? Who do you think, where do you think they're going? Are they going home or are they going on holiday? And then, oh, somebody went past in a car full of stuff. We'd go, bet they're going on holiday. And they'd be like, yeah, where do you think they're going? And it's silly things like that. It's silly little ideas like that that you find, especially with children with ADHD and neurodivergent of any kind, you are sparking their imagination. So, how do I get my child to stop saying, I don't know what to write? Do you remember when we talked about that caravan? Do you remember when we talked about where we thought that car was going on? What do you think's in the back of that lorry? You know, could it be a spaceship? What if it's a spaceship? Where's it going to go? Is it going to the Mars? You know, and we would do that all the time, and that was the way that we got Ben to really open up his mind to crazy ideas, but fun ideas. And it used to be like, I'm going to pick the next one. I'm going to pick the next one. You're like, okay, go on then. Okay. I'm going to look for a blue lorry. And in the back of the blue lorry, I know, I've got it. It's full of chocolate. You're like, of course it is. But the thing is, that's how you need to pique their imagination. You need to like poke it. You know, as if you got a stick, you're just poking it, poking the bear, as they say. So the way you say them, when they say, I don't know what to write, you say to them, well, what if this or what if that? But try and do it in a way that it avoids the what if. So remember the car, remember that red truck, remember that caravan, remember the this, remember the that. And you can do that every single day you're in the car. Whether you're traveling to and from school, to and from shopping, just use those little moments. And in those little moments, you will find that they will literally go, oh my goodness, I've got it. I understand. And I think that is a magical moment that they say, I really do. Like, I know what I'm going to write about. And when they say, I know what I'm going to write about, you're winning. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Paulette. The next one, number 5. Should children plan their stories before they start writing? Um, I think this question is an obvious one, but the reasons behind it is what really makes this question a fantastic one. Many people have this on their mind. Um, should a child is a child, should they really plan the stories? That's a question that some parents might have on their mind. What would you say?
100% yes.
Hmm.
And the reason you need to plan is so that you can, I always used to talk about the beginning, the middle, and the end. Everyone knows that was the basis of a story at school. You had a start, you had a middle, and you had an ending. So that is a plan in itself. A 3-part plan, but it's a plan. So when you say to a child, should you plan a story? By giving them that sort of template of a beginning, a middle, and end, that helps them automatically put things, this is going to happen there, this is going to happen there, and this is going to happen there. And the last part of the end shouldn't be, and they all lived happily ever after. So they had this massive trip to Venus or wherever, to Mars. They did all these amazing things, and then they lived happily ever after. Living happily ever after is not an end. And I had to spend a lot of time saying that that isn't an ending. It is an ending, but it's an ending that normally happens once you've concluded a story. And we had a lot of issues with it happened, with that it all ended in a happily ever after or something like that. And I had to say, no, we have to go with a bit more detail in that conclusion when you finish the story, when you wrap it up. So that's why planning is important, because that ending of they all lived happily ever after drives teachers bonkers, because it shows like, I just want to get it over with, right? And even now, if you're writing a 5,000 word essay, if you finish the last 100 words with the equivalent of, and they all end up happily ever after, you'll lose points, because what you're not doing is concluding in an effective and successful way. You're copping out, and nobody wants to be copping out. So you want that plan for that reason.
Absolutely. Regarding number 6, we've already gone through number 6 earlier. How can spider diagrams or mind maps improve my child's writing? Brainstorming with your child, don't look at it as a tool, only just a tool for them. Look at it as a gift that you've given them, because
And fun.
say again, sorry.
I said it's important for it to be fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you want them to do it when you're not around, when you're not around, when they're on their own, just make it fun, and they'll remember it, and they will definitely do it, right? So when you create when you teach them to brainstorm, right, you turning your child from a normal person to an extraordinary problem solver. Remember, that's the superpower, right? We can only fly as Superman in movies, but if you really want to give your child a superpower, give them the gift of problem solving. Give them the gift of looking at the same problem from 2 to 3 people's perspective, right? When we were kids, my mom always make us sit around a breakfast table and put a piece of paper in the middle. So this was a conversation around breakfast time, right? She would write something in the middle of a circle, and she would tell me to think how my sisters would think. Then they would say if I got it right if I got it wrong. So that enabled me to understand how someone else would think. That helps. That helped me um, with productizing. So it helped me understand what a customer wants, and or what a customer might want, right? Or it just teach your child a lot of what ifs, right? And those what ifs are other people's way of thinking. Your child becomes more tolerant when you teach them how to brainstorm and see things from other people's perspective. That is the power of spidergrams. Explain to them why you're doing this. Explain to them they will never run out of ideas. A spidergram, just like Paulette says, is or alluded to. Um, it's an idea generator, right? You never run out of ideas. That's the biggest problem with authors, which is called an author's block, right? Um, can a child go through an author's block? Yes, of course. As a child, same as me and you, only younger and less experienced. Of course they are, right? So, number um, 6, we already done that. Let's go to number 7, Paulette. Why does my child write everything in one long paragraph?
Well, my first argument to that is, why does it matter? Um, as long as they're writing, they're young people. They're not experts, okay? They're young people who are learning their craft. And so I say young writers often focus on getting the idea down. As I said, the overwhelm of getting that information down on paper is so important because they're thinking quicker than they can write. So they just need to just like almost, throw it all down on the paper. So young writers often focus on getting ideas down, thinking about structure is not what's on their mind. They're thinking about just getting it all down. And then gradually you can teach them what a paragraph is. You can teach them about changing the settings and how you might want to put that bit at the end and that bit at the beginning. You can start taking that paragraph and breaking it down. But that is a skill. And that is a skill that even today grown ups struggle with. Adults struggle with it. They will write an email and it's just one long paragraph without any punctuation at all. It's like you're writing in text form. And people go, but it's only an email. And I'm like, but, in my head, it's like, but, um, so, we are guilty as adults of doing exactly the same thing. I've got this message to get across, splurge, down it goes. So I don't think we can criticize kiddies for doing it. What I think we should be doing is going, that's amazing. Now let me help you make it even better. And what you're doing is adding the salt and pepper. You're adding the tomato ketchup on the chips. What you're doing is only adding spice. You're not changing it. You're not, all you're doing is tweaking. You're tweaking. You're adding a little bit of something extra. Never take it away from the child because that will make them feel like they're not good enough. Don't let them feel like they're not good enough. What you say to them is, that's amazing. I think I can help you. If you imagine chips on their own are chips, but chips and ketchup are better, right? Yeah, they're better. Well, let me show you how to put the ketchup on. You do it like that, they'll be like, yeah, let's put some ketchup on. It's a different mindset. You have to get into the mind of a child, and that child is saying to you, don't mess with my story. Don't, don't, don't change my words because I spent a lot of time getting that down on paper. So all you need to do is show them that you're adding the spice. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Paulette. The next one, number 8. How can I help my child with creative writing without doing it for them? Some parents take it further and sometimes write for write for the kids a little bit too much, to the point they become reliant on the parent. How would you do that and create that independence that they need as well? Maybe it's when they're too young, it's okay to write for them and give them kind of a template, but and like influence their style. Yeah, that makes sense. But writing for them, I don't think writing for them is a very good idea. Um, what would you say to this question, Paula? How can I help my
I got
child
a
creative writing?
very quick, funny story. I have a really good friend who's an English teacher, primary school English, or primary school, but predominantly English. And she told a parent at Parents' Day that they'd written a really good story, and the parent just turned bright red. And she said, "Thought you had," you know? And it's the point that the teachers know if the work is so different from what they can do in class to what they can do at home, they didn't do it. All right. So let's give the child the opportunity to keep growing. So I would say asking lots of open ended questions, encouraging them to think rather than just ask you for the answer. It's too easy to say, well, what would you do if you was on a desert? What would you do, Mum, if you were there? What would you do, Dad, if you were there? No, what would you do? You tell me what you'd do. Just turn it back on them. And the other thing I would say is, when I said before about writing it down, because they're speaking so fast because they've got so much to say, that is just you acting as the dictation tool. Then you give it back to them for them to write it all out longhand. What I was trying to say is, in order for keeping up purposes, when their mind is running at 100 miles an hour and they can only write at 5, there is a real disconnect. So what you do is you act as the filler in of that disconnect by the dictation tool, either by recording it or by writing it. But it's still your child's words, it's still your child's thoughts, and you're not doing it for them. You're helping them do the best possible job they can. And I think that's really important because it will take a child about 2 hours to write maybe 250 words. So if you think about it, how many words we say when we speak, and then how many words it takes to write that down, it's astonishing how little you get for 250 words. And so if you imagine them wanting to get a start, a middle, and an end, and the whole story, and blah, 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 it's really important that you're there to act as a moderator. You're not there to do it. That's the key. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Paulette. Um, you know, um, most parents want their children to focus on really pre-established notions for their careers. You got to be a doctor. You got to be a fighter. You got to be a lover. You got to be this. You got to be that. What if your child wants to be a storyteller? You need to find out, because if that child becomes a storyteller, storytelling is not just telling someone bedtime stories. It's way more than that, right? So, so a storyteller is someone who can keep people interested, right? And tell them what's happened through a beginning, middle, and an end, right? Never take away that child's opportunity and chance of being a storyteller.
It's okay to be a lover or an MMA fighter. I love telling stories. I fight to be a better writer.
Thank you so much for thank you so much for joining us wherever you are in this beautiful world. I was checking the statistics of tea milk to sugars last night, and I found out we have people watching us in countries that I did not imagine the show would become popular. So I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you so much for choosing tea milk to sugars. And tea milk to sugars is something that belongs to people. We're doing it for people. We are people like me, people like me and you, right? We are everyday people. There's nothing special about us. What is special about us is that you are our friends now. And that's what's really, really special about us, right? We have friends like you in countries we didn't imagine the show would take us to, right? So there were 5 people who were watching the show in, I think it was in Singapore. And there were 10 people watching the show from Indonesia. I want to say hi to those people as well. And there were thousands of people watching the show from America. So the United States comprises maybe 37% of our viewership. And surprisingly, only 1% are watching us from the United Kingdom. And most of our views comes from people like overseas, internationally. And that was something really interesting. Unless it changes in the future. So we have gone international. Paulette, congratulations. And that made my day. I was like, yes. That is really interesting. And I'm grateful. Thank you. So we're going to come back after a quick commercial break, and we're going to be talking about this one. What are the best writing strategies for children with ADHD, dyslexia, or autism? This is your bread and butter, Ms. Hallam, and we're going to be hearing from you after we're back.
Give me tea, give me tea, give me lots of tea. My new favorite is a box of tea. Cups of tea, pots of tea, give me lots of tea. My new favorite is a box of tea. Give me tea, give me tea, give me a box of tea. Can I please have a cup of a box of tea?
Fire!
thank you so much for joining Tea Milk with Sugars, a podcast by people for people. So, we're gonna continue the questions. They're the most Googled questions by parents. We're going to be hearing the answers from Paulette Hallam, author, ex corporate sales director, remarketing director, senior management, entrepreneur, business manager, and also, last but not least, a charity worker. The books that she has created are there are three of them, and every single penny that parents spend and people spend on these books goes straight to the charity. Nothing goes to her own pocket. She spends her own money on the charity as well. So you can see this charity has a special place in her heart. And thank you so much for creating this charity. It's helpful to children, especially the children who don't have a voice, right? And I always tell parents on this platform, not every child is lucky enough to have a good parent like you. So when you buy a book, buy one for a child who hasn't got a parent or hasn't got a parent as good as you. Because some children are left to their own devices, unfortunately. And some of them are in the care system. And basically, they do not have the same privileges as your child or as your children, right? So it would be a great thing if you help them. So how can you help them? What you can do is you can go to yes, you can go to Amazon and either purchase the Kindle version of Jack and Walter, or purchase the paperback. I purchased the paperback myself. I purchased this one. I bought one, and I gave one to a child in a hospital. I took it to the hospital and I gave it to a nurse, and I said, the first child, I'm going to leave it to you. And she was like, you put me on the spot. I was like, well, you just make a decision and give it to a child. A child who's having a bad day, who's been brought to the hospital for the first night or first day. And she said, oh yeah, I know, I'm gonna pass it on to such and such kid. And I don't know what happened, but I know a child got that book, right? So and I feel proud that I did that. These days, we see people doing really negative things and they are so proud of it. Why shouldn't we be proud of something positive that we've done, right? So please remember, if it's a child's first day in anything, hospital, school, new country, new city, or a new home, you know, when they go to when they are unfortunate enough to lose a parent, you know, these are the ways in which you can help a child, right? Remember, jackandwalter.com is Paulette's website for these three books. Remember that, please. Jack and Walter. Jack and Walter are the characters in Paulette's books. This book, remember, please, this book was created by two fantastic creators. One is Paulette Hallam, who's on the screen with us, and the next person is Charlotte Morman. So Charlotte is the creator of the illustrations in these books. So, Paulette, shall we go to number 9? There you go, love.
Definitely.
What are the best writing strategies for children with ADHD, dyslexia, or autism? Please go ahead.
Okay, so it's not that different to all children, except that it's attention span. We are dealing with the attention span of, people say a gnat, but I find that quite, annoying. But basically, what we're saying is that they will go, oh, shiny thing, oh, shiny thing. The getting them to sit down and actually focus is the hard bit. So again, it's using the short writing story. So 3 sentences is all it needs to be initially. Those 3 sentences might be the start of a much bigger story. You come back to it and you write another 3 sentences. And then that's how they will not see it as an overwhelming whole A4 page they've got to fill in. And they might have the whole afternoon to do it, but 3 sentences will be all they'll manage. So I think using the short writing story method works. Visual planners, like we've spoken about before, are always helpful. Spidergrams are like absolutely the must go to. The clear step-by-step instruction. Children, especially autistic children, they love to have, well, neurodivergent children, full stop, really love to have organization. They love to have a plan. They love to have a route. I'm going from A to B and I'm going to stop at the garage. That's three things I'm doing. If you say, oh, I'm just going to drop into Nan's, that throws them completely, because you added something in on the hoof and that wasn't what was in the plan. And that would just send them into a loop. So the part of the story that I would always say is try to stick to a plan, try to keep it as short as possible so that they feel like they've accomplished something, step-by-step instructions, adapt the activities to their learning style, and celebrate progress. Yay, you managed your 3 sentences. That's fantastic. Well, another kid sitting down next to might have done an A4 page, but that's their business. That's their story. We're talking about this child and their output. And I think that we celebrate the wins, and we win by giving them something they can actually succeed at, not fail at. If that makes sense. Over to you.
Yes, it makes perfect sense, and thank you.
It's okay to be a lover or an MMA fighter. I love telling stories. I fight to be a better writer.
If you've just joined the show, thank you so much for doing that. You could be anywhere, but you are with us, and we are grateful. We are with Paulette Hallam, child's psychology expert that has contributed and will be contributing a lot in the years to come as well. We've created this show to help parents become more effective parents and reduce children's fears, because fears have this invisible side effect, which is missed opportunities. We don't want that for a child. you handle that fear, they can go places despite the fear. Remember, as parents, our job is not to remove the hurdles. Our job is to create resilience in a child, to be able to jump over those hurdles or climb those hurdles and climb back down, right? Let's go to number 10. How can I make writing enjoyable instead of a chore for my child? That's a fantastic one. Please go ahead, Paulette.
Yes, I wrote a lot for this, so you'll probably have to shut me up. Turning writing into a game, I've said it many times already, but making it fun, giving them fun prompts, like, who do you think's driving that lorry? Where do they live? Where are they going? What's in the back of the lorry? Have they been and delivered it? Are they going to deliver it? Make things fun. Make everyday experiences that seem boring fun. What do you think those cows' names are in the field? Don't know. Well, let's give them a name then. I'm going to call one Buttercup. Oh, that's obvious, you know. You're going to make that a fun little prompt. They'll find that when they write their story in school, guess what they're going to write a story about? Three cows in a field, and one's called Buttercup. I bet you any money under the sun that would happen. So the more fun you make it, the more ideas you put in their head, the more you're giving them the storytelling activities and the abilities to actually do something about it. Ben wrote a comic strip for, like, based on the Mr. Men books when he was 11. And the teacher was so impressed, not just with the drawings, but with the writing. And the style was copied to a T. He said he was going to actually send it to the publishers and say, look what this kid did. And he even turned it into a proper book with a heart, a plastic cover, and he did the lot for him. And we've still got it. And it's like a pride of place moment that's where he got to. The conclusion to this for me is that by you helping your child become a stronger storyteller, you give them the confidence, the planning, plenty of encouragement, bucket loads of encouragement. Small, regular writing experiences at home make such a big difference over time. You will see them go head and shoulders above other children whose parents aren't putting in that effort. Reading short stories together, talking about the characters, asking them what you think might happen next. What do you think might happen at the end? Asking your child to plan a story with a spidergram at home, but never writing the story, just doing it as a spidergram and getting them to talk you through the story can be as much fun as writing the story. But what you're doing is subconsciously you're practicing. Practicing makes help perfection. Using the fun prompt, giving them a 5-minute warning is just so scary for a child. You've got 5 minutes, you're going to write a story. Absolute panic. So the idea is to take that panic out and say, right, let's pretend you had to write a story in 5 minutes. What would you write a story about? Have some ideas ready. As I said, the 3 cows in the field, they will turn up in a story. The caravan that was broken down or fallen over, and all the person's possessions were on the floor. And we were trying to see what was on the floor and how sad it was. And there was a little dog, but he wasn't hurt. What a great story. And he was like, yeah, I could write a story about that. How the dog was safe and was okay. Even though the caravan went over and even though he was in the back, he was fine. Every single day occurrences that happen in your life make for fun experiences to write about. You don't have to be a genius. You just have to have the interest in your child to give them the impetus to start. Over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Paulette. In addition to the fantastic point you made there, and continuing your point, I was going to say, make it fun was the core message in what you just said. Make it fun. And also you mentioned that story that your child is writing, or a story that anybody is writing, needs 3 points of beginning, middle, and the end, right? Now, I'm going to add something to that as well. So, you know, I did a little bit of research. I've done a little bit of research in the past few years, and I've come to the conclusion, because one of the questions I had was, what makes it, what is the difference between a story that really makes it on Netflix and a story that flops? Why is it that some stories are interesting and some others are boring? You just turn the channel over, right? You know, when you watch a movie, like halfway through, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not connecting with this, right? So my understanding at this moment is what Donald Miller teaches in his books. So what he teaches us is, if you're writing a story, and only if you want it to be interesting, and you want people to be talking about it, you want people to be sharing about it, and you want people not being able to shut up about it, do this, and your story will be a success, right? Let me give you an example. If the premise, the main subject of your story is boy meets girl, boy gets the girl, a girl gets the boy, a girl gets the girl, a boy gets the boy, by the end of it, right? So if you're writing a love story as an example, a boy meets a girl after 10 years of not seeing her, remembers school years, now they are both grown-ups, and a little bit of love, a little bit of spark between them is inserted into the story, right? And then the boy learns how to work with Photoshop. No, don't do that. Then the boy learns, and then the boy goes to um, a car, a tractor fair, or goes to a job finding convention. No, 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 don't do that. You need to ask yourself, do I want my story to be interesting? Yes. So you need to get rid of anything that is not getting the boy to the girl, right? Get rid of anything that is not helping the narrative of the boy getting the girl or the girl getting the boy is irrelevant. Your listener does not want to hear about it. Your listener does not want to know it. So, and boy girl was just a simplified example, right? So, like a guy, ultimate goal, Nobel Prize, right? So you start with if you start with a child's parents' life or grandparents' life, that is a little bit too prequely, isn't it? So, but is it relevant, and is it gonna help you tell your story better? Yes, by all means, insert that into the story, right? Talk about it, tell that story, but your main focus should be on the things that makes that guy's career and propels him towards that Nobel Prize, right? The focus is Nobel Prize, getting that Nobel Prize. So you want to tell a story of a Nobel Prize. You don't have to necessarily explain about how many types of different burgers that guy likes. That does not serve your narrative, or what kind of sources or what kind of mannerisms he's got. If it's helping your narrative, yes, insert it into the story. So make it fun, make it fun, make it fun, just like Paulette said. So my message to you guys is, if you're teaching your child to write, teach them this underappreciated point, right? If it's relevant, insert it into the story. If it's not, get rid of it. I know authors who, I predominantly work with authors and people have created software, or people who want to put a spotlight on their products, right? I always tell them, I know you want to tell that part of the story. I know you're passionate about it. But just because you're passionate about it, it doesn't mean it will land, right? It doesn't mean it's relevant to your reader. Please be kind to your reader. Please give them an interesting story. Don't give them something boring and then wonder, oh, I don't know why my story's flopped. Well, you told a really boring story, mate. That's what you've done. I'm just saying that I'm just being cruel to kind, right? So you change the channel when you get bored. You stop watching a movie when you get bored. Have you ever wondered why? Because the author wasn't kind to you. They inserted too many irrelevant stops on the journey, too many detours, right? Keep it lean and keep it relevant and keep it fun. That's my message to you guys. I just said that in the back of the main and major and important point that Paulette made there. So teach your child to be his or her best version, but remaining relevant, okay? And telling stories that matters to people, right? So we've gone through all of those questions that parents had about how they could help their children become better storytellers, okay? Remember, your child is already an artist because adulthood hasn't happened to him or her. Your child is still a storyteller, right? Just get them to get used to the idea of carrying on being storytellers. You know, when they sit down next to you and tell you about their day, don't dismiss them. That moment is pivotal. Don't get lost in your mobile phone screen or in your laptop screen. Stop whatever you're doing, because that is one of those invisible forces shaping your child, right? So do something that Paulette did. She dedicated all of her life to her son, right? Because when we leave the planet, our children continue our legacy, right? Remember, you are listening to that legacy maker. When that legacy maker, that child of yours, comes very excited from school, sits down next to you, wants to tell you a story, that is the moment you create a storyteller, right? You don't have to do anything. All you need to do is just sit down, open your ears, and enjoy the show. Your child is telling you a story. Thank you so much for joining us, creating another episode of Tea, Milk, Two Sugars.
Tea, milk, two sugars.
And once again, I would like to thank our sponsor, Aboxity.
Give me tea, give me tea, give me lots of tea. My new favorite is a box of tea. Cups of tea, pots of tea, give me lots of tea. My new favorite is a box of tea. Give me tea, give me tea, give me a box of please have a cup of a box of tea?
Tea milk, 2 sugars. Tea milk, 2 sugars. Tea milk, 2 sugars.
Yes, exactly. That's how we like our tea, right? Tea, milk, 2 sugars. I need a new cuppa. And so that's the end of the story behind my cup of tea. And
Do you say?
on that note, we're gonna finish the show, guys. We shall see you tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. UK time. And again, let me load that list. I'd like to thank our listeners and people who've been watching our show from the United States, Sweden, Germany, Singapore, China, Russia, Netherlands, Brazil, Japan, Hong Kong, South Korea, the United Kingdom, Canada, France, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, Poland, Australia, Israel, Norway, Denmark, Bangladesh, Belgium, South Africa, Finland, Ireland, Republic of Serbia, Vietnam, and Switzerland. Thank you so much for your fantastic and kind emails. Some of the emails I've received are not that kind, but it's okay. Opinions are opinions. Please do share your opinions with me, even if they are however they are. Okay. And if you feel you're gonna improve the show, yeah, please send us your opinion, send us your feedback. But when you send your opinions to me and send your feedbacks to me, please suggest a solution as well. Okay, so because I want to find out how you like the show so I can make it so, right? So thank you so much for your feedback. Feedback is data, feedback is valued, at least in my world, right? And in Paulette's world. So again, we had the pleasure of spending a little bit of time with Paulette Hallam, the author of Jack and Walter, the co-author of Jack and Walter. The other amazing lady is called Charlotte Morman, who did the illustrations for this book. There's 3 of them. These 3 books make a charity, really. That's the whole purpose of creating these books, and that's where all the money goes to. When you buy one of these books, you're helping a charity, by the way, just so you remember. Also, I would like to explain for the last time. Yes, Paulette Hallam. You can find Paulette Hallam on LinkedIn. This is her page. She's from the United Kingdom, same as myself. It was fun. Paulette, how do you feel about this episode?
Very good. I think that anything that's going to help children to not sit there with a blank piece of paper, to not be panicking, to not be worrying about story time. Oh my God, I hate writing stories. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. If you make it fun, they'll love it. You can turn it on a penny, and you're the one that injects the fun. Remember, what they don't like doing is the writing bit. Don't knock the writing bit. That doesn't matter. The spelling, the punctuation, the everything in one chapter. One paragraph. That doesn't matter. That can be sorted out afterwards. Get that story down. That's the important bit. Encourage, encourage, encourage. I can't use that word enough. That is going to be what makes all the difference and make your child stand out and enjoy writing. Back to you.
thank you so much, Paulette. And thank you everybody who watched the show up to this point. And I wish you all a lovely day and see you guys tomorrow.